everyone, today's video is about when Bakugo comforts you after a rough day. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and let's get going. You wake up to the loud, jarring sound of your alarm clock. Groaning, you reached over to shut it off, only to realize that it had been blaring for 20 minutes already. You were late, very late. Jumping out of bed, you scrambled to throw on some clothes, barely managing to grab your bag and shoes as you bolted out the door. You rushed to the bus stop, your hair still a bit messy. But just as you arrived, you saw the bus pulling away. You waved frantically, trying to catch the driver's attention, but it was of no use. It sped off, leaving you standing out there, out of breath and frustrated. Great, just great. You muttered under your breath, checking the time. The next bus wasn't due for another 15 minutes, so you decided to walk to the next stop, hoping to make up for lost time. But as you turned the corner, you saw the next bus arriving earlier than scheduled. You ran as fast as you could, only for it to leave just as you reached the stop. By the time you finally got a third bus, you were already drenched in sweat from running and exhausted from the ordeal. As you sank into your seat, you realized that your morning coffee, which you had carefully brewed and placed in your travel mug, had somehow spilled inside your bag. You could feel the sticky warmth against your thigh and quickly fished it out, only to find that it had soaked through your notebook, the same notebook filled with notes for the big test that you had been studying for all night. Arriving at school, you tried to salvage what you could of your coffee-stained notes, but most of the pages were smeared beyond recognition. "This is fine," you whispered to yourself, trying to stay optimistic. "I studied enough. I'll do fine." The test itself was disaster. You had studied for it all week, yet when the questions appeared in front of you, they felt foreign, like you'd never seen the material before. You did your best to answer them, but by the time you handed in the paper, you had a sinking feeling in your stomach. After class, the teacher handed back the grades, assignments from last week, and your heart sank further when you saw the big red D scrawled across the top of yours. You stared at it, trying to hold back tears as your classmates packed up and left. "Pull it together, Wyan," you muttered to yourself as you left the classroom, your steps heavy as you headed for your locker. On the way, someone bumped into you, sending your bag tumbling to the floor. A few of your pens rolled out, and you crouched to gather them, muttering a weak sorry. The other person barely acknowledged you before walking away. By the time the final bell rang, signaling the end of the day, you felt completely drained. The thought of going home and facing Bakugo's usual teasing made you hesitate, but you were too exhausted to come up with an excuse to stay out. As you walked to your apartment, the events of the day played on a loop in your mind. The buses, the coffee, the test, the grade, it all felt like too much. All you wanted was for someone to tell you that it was okay, that you weren't a complete failure. But as you unlocked the door, you braced yourself for whatever Bakugo had to say. He called out from the kitchen as soon as he heard the door open. "Oi, took you long enough. What, you got lost or something?" His voice was casual, with a hint of his usual sarcasm. You dropped your bag by the door and kicked off your shoes without answering, too tired to come up with a witty reply. "Wyan, I'm talking to you," he called again, stepping into the living room. "Don't ignore me." He stopped mid-sentence when he saw you. You didn't look like yourself. Your head was down, your shoulders slumped, and your lips pressed together, as if you were holding something back. It was a look that he wasn't used to, and it threw him off. "What the hell happened to you?" he asked, his voice softening as he approached. You tried to shrug it off. "Just a rough day," he mumbled, heading towards the couch. Bakugo wasn't the type to let things slide, though. Yeah? Well, you look like crap. Sit down and tell me what's going on. You sighed, flopping onto the couch and running a hand through your hair. It's nothing, Katsuki. I'm fine. Bullshit, he said, crossing his arms as he stood over you. You don't look fine. Spell it. You hesitated for a moment before everything came tumbling out. I missed 2 buses this morning. Then, when I finally got on one, my coffee spilled all over my notes. I barely made it to class in time, bombed the test I studied all week for, and then got handed back another assignment with a terrible grade. Oh, and someone knocked my bag over in the hallway, just to top it all off. You looked down at your hands, your voice trembling. I don't know. I feel like nothing I do is good enough. Like no matter how hard I try, everything still falls apart. Bakugo's eyes softened as he listened. He didn't say anything for a moment, then sighed and plopped down next to you on the couch. You're such an idiot, he said, his tone surprisingly gentle. Before you could respond, he reached out and pulled you against him, wrapping an arm around your shoulders. Katsuki, shut up, he said. You've had a shitty day, I get it. But you're not going to sit here and beat yourself up over it. You leaned into him, the warmth of his body grounding you. But, no buts, he interrupted. You had a bad day. That doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means that tomorrow can't be worse, right? You let out a small laugh despite yourself. Well, I guess. Damn right, he said, smirking. Now sit here and relax for a bit. I'll get you something to drink. As he got up to head to the kitchen, you couldn't help but smile. He might have rough edges, but in moments like this, Katsuki always knew how to make you feel better, and like everything was okay, and it would be anyway. He returned a few minutes later with a steaming mug of hot chocolate, topped with a swirl of whipped cream. He handed it to you without a word, sitting down beside you again and pulling the blanket over the both of your legs. Drink up. It's not as good as coffee, but it won't spill all over your damn notes either, he muttered, avoiding your gaze. Thank you, Katsuki, you said as you laughed at him, taking a sip, the warmth spreading through you. He grunted in response, but you caught the faintest hint of a smile, tugging at the corner of his lips. And the two of you sat in silence, the chaos of the day fading into the background. For the first time in hours, you felt at peace. As your eyes grew heavy, you felt Bakugo's hand slip into yours. Tomorrow will be better, he said quietly, his voice steady and sure. And with him by your side, you did believe it. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you liked this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and goodbye!